Hello, my name is Anita Washington. I'm a junior psychology major from Atlanta, Georgia. The topic of my research proposal is the stress experienced among college students, more specifically, the causes of that stress as well as the outcomes of that stress. And firstly, it should be noted that not all stress is bad. Eustress, which is a more moderate or normal level of stress, can actually be beneficial to the person experiencing it. If a student is stressed about an exam, for example, it may motivate them to study harder, which will result in a good exam grade. And while that would be a positive result of stress, the stress I'll be focusing on in this study is actually the kind that might result in poor grades. I think this study is significant, for one, because college is a stressful period for anyone. You're moving into a new environment. So in order for your university to be able to assist you in that adjustment, they should be aware of the types of stressors that are most common to college students and the effects of those stressors, such as outcomes of academic performance due to that stress. My research questions for this study are: what impact does stress have on college students, and how do college students cope with that stress? My hypothesis is that stress has a negative impact on a student's academic performance, and I do believe that college students are more likely to consume alcohol and drugs when they are under stress, solely because a lot of college students haven't learned the proper coping strategies for stress. Research into stress has only recently begun to view students as priority, so there are a lot of common themes and some limitations to those studies. Firstly, several researchers have commonly focused on subject areas with vocational elements. So as you can see here, these are previous studies concerning stress and college students, but they focused more on nursing students, hospitality students, law students, social work students, and psychology students. It's not really clear whether this focus on those vocational elements is because the researchers believe that students who are training for a particular occupation may have more stress than other students, but there have been arguments in some studies that medical students suffer more stress than others, but that same conclusion was rejected in another study. So I did find it interesting, though, that in a comparative study, social work students were found to experience higher stress levels than psychology students. Now, while the subject area of these previous studies were similar, they also seem to have focused on a quantitative approach where participants would complete a self-report inventory that claims to measure stress or their stressors. Examples of such inventories are here on this slide: the life experience survey, the Hassel scale, the social support inventory, the Hassel's assessment scale for students in college, the student life stress inventory, the college chronic life stress survey, the student stress scale, the perceived stress scale, and the academic stress scale. So these were all quantitative approaches used in the previous studies discussed. Now, while surveys are an effective way to measure stress levels among college students, I just feel that it only gives a snapshot of what's going on. A move towards a qualitative research design using in-depth interviews, I feel, just will give a clearer perception of the stress individual students are experiencing, as well as their coping strategies, any resources they're using. Overall, it should just enhance our understanding of how students experience stress. So for this design, I used the grounded theory, which is a qualitative research approach that was developed by Glasser and Strauss in the 1960s. And the purpose of this theory is to develop a theory about some phenomena of interest, and stress is of interest to me. I am a college student. I do experience stress, so I felt that this was a good approach. The method of this study will be interviews using open-ended questions. It'll be unstructured, direct interaction between the researcher and the participant. While there are guiding questions, the researcher will be open um, to move the conversation around if any interesting topics come up. And I just feel like this unstructured interview will be useful to just explore the whole topic of stress more broadly. You can get real, genuine, detailed responses from the participants rather than just a rating. The participants for the study will be college seniors from Howard University. I'm hoping to have at least 100 participants just so that we have a wide variety of responses. Obviously, I'd like an even amount of females and males. Since this is an HBCU, obviously there will most likely be an abundance of African Americans, but I would like to interview some minorities within the school. And the interview questions would be as follows. What is your GPA? What year did you perform best academically? What year did you perform the worst? Why do you think you did well that semester, or why did you do poorly that semester? What would you say your biggest stressors were during your college experience? How did you cope with that stress? And what do you think your university could do differently to help students who are dealing with stress, depression, or other mental health issues? Now, taking that into consideration, the independent variable of the study would be stress, or the stressors causing that stress, and the dependent variable would be the student's academic performance, or their GPA, which is being affected by the stress. And I decided to interview seniors specifically because they have the most experience to go off of, and to get those seniors for this study, I would ask classmates, ask around on the yard, ask friends, anywhere I can find these seniors. Now, to analyze my data, the first step would be coding. This way, I would develop some categories and find common themes within the interviews. Secondly, I do believe that memoing would be effective in this study. The researcher should definitely record their thoughts just because this research could go on indefinitely. And lastly, I would use integrated diagrams to display my data just to make sense of it all, pull it all together. Yeah, so that's my research proposal. Thank you for watching.